Alright boys, a double chapter this month. The spoilers for chapter 60 and 61 have dropped for Record of Ragnarok. I'll be covering everything in today's video, which has a lot of insanity, so make sure to stick around to the end. But let's get into it. Right at the start, we already get a pretty godly panel considering Huang's backstory last chapter. Getting this is truly great, with the focus of chapter 60 being on the fight, which also seems to include some more insight about Huang's eye-based ability we explored in his backstory last chapter, and perhaps even something else, with the initial start of chapter 60 favouring Huang, making Ares lose his shit again, but we still see Hermes and Zeus fairly calm, at least in comparison to Ares. But we do see Hades coming back with a counter. It does look like a, penis attack, but very clearly meant to be a kick. A little bit goofy looking, I'm not going to lie, but he's able to catch Huang off guard with this kick. Before I continue, you're most likely a Record of Ragnarok fan. That's what I provide on this channel, so you might as well hit that subscribe button, it's greatly appreciated. However, still seems to be struggling with the air-based little orb things Huang sends at him during the previous chapters. So he hasn't really found out a way to fully counter that apart from going for these insane dodges. And as Huang's been doing throughout this fight, he has to best Hades in every way possible. He goes for his own type of kick. This time has like this very sick art of this line in the background. Very badass panel here. You honestly just gotta feel bad for Hades at this point. Huang just outperforming him and cucking him at every chance he gets throughout this fight. And it seems like this kick actually lands directly on Hades, resulting in his arm to be useless now. We see him like clinch it and then lose pretty much the ability to do that. So Hades has lost control of one of his arms. That is not good for him whatsoever. But as an absolute mad lad, what does he do? He smiles and Huang smiles back. We may get it when the full Raws or full chapter comes out that Huang's also suffered the same injury. Of course, I don't know based on the leaks here, but that is very possible considering his eye ability. But yeah, Hades is getting the shit beat out of him this chapter. And the first leaked panel we got for chapter 61 is probably the most godly panel in the series so far for more reasons than one. Here is the panel with blood splattering everywhere out of Hades, Poseidon in the background, and Hades singing Poseidon's rhythm that he was singing during the Sasaki fight, giving Sasaki those deadly flashbacks. And it seems like Hades actually did this to himself. The reason most likely connects to Huang's eye-based ability. Throughout the whole series, it's been established that gods typically have a lot more durability than humans. If they were going to go down the sustainability route, Poseidon pretty much taking himself out like this may result in Huang to die first and him potentially winning the fight. But again, we have no idea based on this first leak from chapter 61. However, I personally believe this is Hades unleashing his full or perhaps even true power, as we also get this panel dropped for chapter 61, which looks very similar to something Poseidon did during his Sasaki fight, right before he went super serious. Of course, this panel here, if you see them side by side, very similar. Maybe this is Hades doing a homage to his brother because he was perhaps watching that fight. I can't quite remember whether he said he watched that fight, but I think it was more so he heard Poseidon died, so he may have not actually seen that happen. If not, this is something very interesting, but yeah, very cool stuff. And those are currently all the leaked panels for chapter 61. There may be a few others within the coming hours after this video is released, or maybe the next day, but the full Raws for the two chapters should be out in a few days after that anyway. Of course, all the links are in the Discord as always. But I just want to talk a little bit about who will actually win this fight. I've been saying this for the last few chapter reviews that I do actually believe this fight will be a draw. But when comparing the two characters, Huang's been respected a lot more. We've had two backstories for him, while everything regarding Hades has just been connecting to Poseidon and him wanting to get revenge. We haven't really seen too many abilities from him. It's more so been this his like raw power. Looking at the few panels we did get for chapter 61, it does seem like a more Hades focused chapter, so we may finally get a flashback for him at some point. Something else that is going to be pretty funny is, let's say Hades actually does lose this fight. That means another Greek god has been absolutely shit on and disrespected throughout the series. But if Huang loses this fight, that means the Second Chinese fighter in the series has been disrespected. As many people like to say, Chinese characters throughout various manga always get disrespected. And if Huang does lose against Hades, I'm guessing a similar thing will be said by many people in the fandom, sadly. So yeah, a perfect outcome could potentially just be a draw. We've had the pieces being set up, but just give us a little bit more from Hades to give him a lot more respect, maybe some crazy statements from like Zeus or other gods, and then we can have Huang clutching up and then of course resulting in the draw to make even the next fights harder to read the outcome, as currently it's a draw for humanity and the gods. If this fight was a draw, going into the next round, that would be even more crazy. We wouldn't know whether the gods are going to take back the lead or humanity will be the ones in front for the first time in a tournament. A lot of crazy stuff could happen depending on the outcome of this. But so far, this fight has been fairly good. I would probably rank it around in the middle so far. I've been really enjoying Huang. 2 backstories is a little bit much. We got 2 backstories for a few other characters, but those have been more so connected into one backstory, while Huang's 2 have been pretty much separate in what was covered in both of them. Another thing to really mention is Huang's like air blast ability seems to be very overpowered, potentially one of the strongest moves in the series, as Hades has been struggling with it quite a bit. He's had those insane dodges, but even with those dodges, he hasn't really been able to capitalize on anything, and if he can just really spam all of them, he may be able to take out a lot of fighters from the series so far. We've even seen in chapter 61 the desperate measures Hades has gone to potentially keep himself in the fight when facing those. And also all the other forms Huang potentially still has. We saw like the lion kick earlier, so that's probably a different form as well. But there's still other forms of Huang's armor we haven't really touched upon yet. So I do think there's still a few possible chapters left to this fight. I don't think it's ending. I just saw that panel of Hades and freaked out a little bit. But that should be everything for today's Record of Ragnarok leak video. Hope you enjoyed. I don't know when the translated chapters will come out. Last month it took a lot longer than any time previously, and there's 2 chapters this month, so I guess stay tuned for the future. But of course, join the Discord, check out all the other stuff in the description. Shout out to the people who support the channel via the Patreon. But yep, that's it guys. Peace.